Am I the butthole for moving to avoid babysitting for my parents, which prompted my siblings to do the same? I'm 22 male, the oldest brother of 9 siblings. I have 5 younger brothers and 3 sisters. My sister is 20 and my brother is 19. Youngest is 4 years old and my other siblings' ages range from 7 to 16. My parents would have had way more kids, but my mom suffered from several miscarriages. Pretty much since I was 6 I had to take care of all my siblings. I could never go out because my parents were working and nobody to take care of my siblings. I love my siblings, but I hated never having freedom. It used to annoy me like crazy that they would just pop one kid after another. Our house wasn't that big, so everyone shared rooms, never had any private space. Parents made good money, but because of so many kids they struggled financially. Years later I found out the reason why they had so many kids: because they weren't using any protection at all. My mom said they didn't believe in using protection and any kids they had were because of God's will. If they didn't get pregnant, that was fine. If they did, it was because that was God's plan. I was so mad since I was the one also stuck taking care of all these kids because they're too stubborn to use protection since it's against their beliefs. When my mom got pregnant again with my youngest sibling, I waited until my 18th and moved out that day. Made sure I moved far too, 1 hour away, so I had that excuse. When my sis turned 18 she begged me to let her live with me and I said yes. My bro did too eventually. My sister has already moved out, but he's still there with me while we continue our college classes. They saw that I limited contact with my parents to avoid getting stuck babysitting, so they wanted out too. Now my younger bro, who's 16, is spending more time at my place because he hates it at home. My parents are mad at me for dipping out on them, since that's made my other siblings not want to be responsible for the younger ones either. My dad told me they're hurt I turned my back on my family and have made my siblings do the same. Because I'm the older one, so I have the most influence on them, and ever since I left they followed with the same attitude. A part of me does feel bad that they're having a hard time, but at the same time I feel they brought that on themselves, just thinking they can have however many kids and expecting us all to just live with their actions. Just wondering if I'm TA for how this all happened. NTA, tell them it was God's plan. NTA, it sounds like your parents used you to parent your siblings. There is an actual term for this: parentification. There is obviously a spectrum to parentification of how much responsibility the child is expected to have, but it sounds like you know that what your parents expected from you was an unfair amount. You didn't choose to have those kids, they are not your kids, but you were forced to look after them. Well done for being able to get out and start looking after your own needs. In a way, it sounds like you are still parenting your siblings by letting the older ones live with you. But as long as you are happy to do so and that you don't feel you have to. Never heard of that word before, to be honest. But it's different now with my bro. We both take care of our own things, so we more like roommates, and brothers obviously, than anything. NTA. There is a reason why the term parentification is a thing. It is a scale and some cases are much worse than others, but it is a recognized issue because it can have a negative effect on your development. Older siblings can look after younger ones on occasion, but it should never really impact the freedom of the older siblings. The red flags. 1. You parents seem to expect that their adult children babysit. The expectation is a huge red flag. 2. You and your siblings feel you need to get out, indicating you can't just say no when asked. You should always be able to say no. 3. You all feel the same way. It is not just a problem for one person, it is a family issue. This indicates there is a bigger problem all of you make a plan to get away from because your parents don't seem to be offering any other solution. Normal people talk it over, listen to each other, and maybe create a schedule. 4. They seem to make you feel as if you owe them something. This can be a bit of a narcissist characteristic in some people. The really bad cases manipulate you to do their bidding and make you feel very guilty that you don't really want to. Don't assume everything is normal just because it is what has been normal your entire life. Even light parentification can cause psychological issues down the track. Agreed. My 40 female brother is 2.5 years younger than I am, and while my mom could be an awesome mom, there were times her mental health wasn't great and she would leave for a week or 2. Leaving me to take care of my bro, the house and food for the 3 of us, bro, stepdad and myself. This only happened once or twice a year, but it went on for many years. Why didn't your stepdad step up? I'm so sorry your mom let you down. Because she's a woman. The stepdad? Because user Vita Vegemine is a woman. Indicating it was due to sexist gender roles, taking care of children, house, and husband falls on a woman, so if mom isn't able, it falls to another girl/woman. Reddit link. Oh, I missed the 40 female part, that makes a lot more sense. Stepless dad. That's a failure on your stepdad. So your mom was mentally unwell and needed a break for a week, twice a year, leaving you in the care of tour stepdad, but you did the care? The person who failed you was your stepdad. Not your mom. She saw what she needed to do to stabilize herself and left you with a responsible adult. It pisses me off this happens. My ex was the same. Unable to look after the kids unless I organized everything to the tiniest detail, and my elderly mom came to help him. It's pathetic. Your stepdad is the lousy parent here. Probably not quite. Unless you've been in the situation, it's not something you'd understand. I was in a similar situation, and I have a feeling Vita Vegemine experienced a similar situation. I could be wrong. Vita, I'm sorry. We're similar in age, and I also had a younger brother and also a younger disabled sis. I finally left a few weeks before I turned 18. I'm sorry you had a tough time, but my answer stands. If one parent occasionally needs to take a break and leaves another responsible adult in charge, the fault lies with that adult who delegates the care to the child. If she had no idea and the stepdad wasn't ill or suffering from other afflictions, then it's fair for her to assume that he can step up. He needs to step up. And it's hard when your sibling has disabilities. But she has to cope with that every other day, and it's really difficult if you don't ever get a break. I know. My eldest is disabled. As a child, it is your default setting to blame your parents. I did it too. But looking at the post I replied to, her mom quite fairly assumed the stepdad would take care of them. He didn't. That isn't the mom's fault. I had to do the same for my sister. From 9 to 17 until I left home, I did most of the child rearing for the both of us. Mom worked and eventually dealt with her mental health, and that's a good thing, but we did struggle for a long time. It's 90% of the reason I don't want kids. I had to parent, basically raise, my younger sister for many years. She's now happily married with kids. I am much older, single and childless. It really does mess you up. I'm the same. My sister has 3 kids, 2 dogs, a cat and a lovely hubby. We enable them to have everything they want and need, and we're the ones left over. I've been in therapy for a few years now, and I've only just barely started touching on all this bollocks. I'll be 40 next year, and I hope I can start living. Yeah, bro, don't blame that on your mom. You had another parental figure who could have stepped up. Plus, a week or 2 is like a normal vacation time. And if it was that your mom was taking care of you guys, the house, food, she probably needed one occasionally. That's not abandoning the family. If the mom knew that the other adult was refusing to adult and making a child sew it for him and continued to leave her children in his care, that's on her. It's her responsibility to make other arrangements if the person she's leaving her kids with neglects them. Like, yeah, the man who's refusing to adult is responsible for his own behavior, but the children's mother is still in the wrong if she's leaving them with someone she knows neglects them. To kind of answer all the questions at once. Yes, it was because I'm female. My stepdad also worked and still works, somehow at 66, 18-hour days. He's a truck driver who has worked his ass off for our family. I don't feel like I blame or resent any of my family, dad included, because I assume he knew what was going on. I was more stating facts. I love my mom, dad, stepdad and brother very much. It has, however, made me have a totally different relationship with my kids than I did/do have with my parents. I've been open and honest about everything their whole lives. Also, they all know they can come to me without judgment, and I'll listen or talk or whatever they need. In this case, original post said this started around the time he was 6. His parents disgust me. They should expect each child to escape as they reach the age of majority. They should expect each child to escape as they reach the age of majority. Except for the youngest, who will always be the baby and never had any responsibility for themselves and will always resent their older siblings for abandoning them while never understanding what their parents put the older kids through. The youngest might end up never leaving home. What if the youngest never left home? They're so moved in. And they don't use birth control either, as it's God's plan. There are babies. Lots and lots of babies. The parents of the babies are now working all the time to pay for these babies. And, parents are now raising their grandchildren rather than enjoying retirement? I'm not super like best friends pour our hearts out to each other close with my mom. My mom's sister is super close / probably codependent with her 2 kids. My mom was jealous of that arrangement right up until her sister's second grandkid was born, and it became abundantly clear that grandma would be the primary caregiver for all her grandkids from both children. Her kids are both married, stable, everyone has FT jobs. It's not like she has custody or is doing it out of necessity. My mom's 70, retired, hangs out, does crap she likes, enjoys her grandkid in doses, then hands her back over to be raised by, the parents. Her sister was a parent of 2 from ages 25 to 45, as a single mom for about half that time, then a parent of 2 kids, plus 6 grandkids from age 50 present. She's still working full-time, too, and is resentful as F of her kids and their spouses. They would probably like it and say, finally, we get our turn to raise the children. They say that grandchildren are God's reward for not killing your teenagers. Hopefully they won't have any more, since they're leaving procreation entirely in God's hands. The youngest will be the one who ends up having to care for the parents when they're old and need help. I bet you're right, they will resent their older siblings for abandoning them when they have to make sacrifices to care for mom and dad, but won't ever really appreciate that the older siblings already made those same sacrifices. What an unhappy circle. As the youngest of 5, that isn't always the dynamic. Not going to go into the details, but I was the responsible one between me and my youngest older sibling, and I moved out at 17 while they still live at home. Also, that description was very specific. You okay, bro? If there will be any youngest. This is another form of abuse that's not covered anywhere, like feeding your kids a crap diet with no activities and then wondering why the child is obese. Not the butthole at all. Run and never look back. Yeah, this isn't okay. Babysitting the kids on a random occasion because mom and dad both have to work overtime for whatever reason is okay in my eyes. Like a total crap kid. I have that 5 o'clock meeting tonight and your mother just got word her contract needs some more work. Do you mind watching the kids for an hour or 2 until we get home? The babysitter has to go home and we're in a bind. I'll pay you the sitter's rate of $15 per hour and just pick up some pizza on my way home. Is perfectly acceptable in my eyes. This is just beyond the beyond. You are so not the butthole, it's not even funny. Your parents can have as many kids as they can take care of. Not they can pop out. NTA, and it is parentification. I did the same thing. I strongly advise you to get therapy, as there's long-term side effects of the neglect and abuse you experienced. You didn't make your siblings want out. Your parents being negligent and abusive did. I effing cackled. I cannot. NTA, you didn't choose to have all those kids, your parents did. The younger children are their responsibility and not yours. End of story. If a parent has a child, it is their responsibility to see the child is taken care of. You are not the parent, you are a sibling, and a damn good one at that, because you continue to take care of the children, older ones now but still, not your kids. Your parents need to wake up and realize that having children, so many children, is robbing the older ones of their childhood. Parents, if you have kids, you take care of them. It's not the older ones' responsibility to take care of the people they didn't bring into this world. You're a good person. This is where you are forming much needed boundaries, and you are setting good examples of said boundaries to your younger siblings who may have never thought they'd have an out from your parents' cycle of madness. First off, agreed NTA. One thing that really stands out to me about original post is that his resentment seems only directed at his parents, who are the ones responsible for the situation. Most people in this situation seem to bear resentment toward their siblings too, but original post is still helping his siblings get out. I think that says a lot about Up. To add to your comment, did the parents have to do this for their parents when they were Op's age? I doubt it. They were likely able to start their lives without responsibilities they didn't sign up for, yet they expect him to put his own life on hold to care for their offspring. Children are children. Parents are parents. Lines between the two are important. Not the butthole. NTA, you didn't turn your back on your family. You are choosing to live your life and be a brother instead of a babysitter. And after all, that original post is still letting 3 of his siblings live with him. That shows a very large capacity for kindness that I'm not sure I'd have in that situation. Original post could be living completely independently, but instead is sharing his living space with dependents, in assuming they don't pay much towards costs, because he loves his siblings. I've read some really sad stories on here about how forced parenting has destroyed sibling relationships. Original post really did these kids a solid. Hope they're okay and enjoying everything. I feel bad for the younger kids, as their actual parents grow up and move out, leaving them behind. I remember seeing the older girls get married on that Duggar family show, and their young siblings were devastated at the wedding. It's so sad seeing toddlers understand that their siblings love them more than their own parents, because they're the ones there for them 90% of the time. He's doing more for his siblings than his parents did for him. Yes, you've actually helped your other over 18 siblings to grow up and step out into the world. Not everyone has siblings they can share with and are stuck living with their parents because rents are so high. You've given your younger siblings more space in an overcrowded house. You're helping, not turning your back. You sound very responsible. NTA. Also, it was the parents who turned their backs on Original Post and their siblings by expecting Original Post to parent their children instead of being decent humans and doing it themselves. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.